Good morning, everybody. We are here today to celebrate Professor Peiró honoris degree. However, we cannot fail to remember the terrible flooding that occurred a few days ago in Valencia and the victims it claimed. I invite you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I am pleased to greet Professor José María Peiró, who is today awarded to honorary degree in Psychology of the Life Cycle and Context, proposed by the Department of Education, Languages, Interculture, Letters, and Philosophy in agreement with the School of Psychology. Professor José María Peiró is a high prestigious researcher and scholar in the field of work and organization psychology. Others will list his merits, but I'm pleased to remember his brilliant career, his research activity, his scientific production. He plays a key role in the international panorama of applied psychology, having also held the role of President of International Association of Applied Psychology, the oldest and most prestigious association in the world, and has received high prestigious prize and recognition from international and national scientific, academic, and professional institutions. When it was awarded the Aristotle Prize, he gave a very interesting interview which sheds light on his activity. He said that his research project aims to clarify the complex relationship between the well-being and happiness at work, and the effective performance and productivity of workers in companies and organizations. Psychologists know that in a company, only when an adequate articulation of the mutual positive influence between these two components is achieved, can workplace well-being be sustainable. The determination of the main organizational and personal antecedent of the positive combination between well-being and happiness, on the one hand, an effective and productive performance, on the other, of strategic importance. Our university has also worked hard to guarantee the well-being of the people who in various capacities work there, implementing different strategies. I want to mention the policy of the protection of the health and safety in the working environment, which aim to promote the organizational well-being to staff through the work-life balance institution, also offering basic healthcare services for off-site students and of psychology counseling. Also, in light of these instances, I'm pleased that Professor José María Peiró receives this recognition for having explored these themes, which are also very dear, very close to our university. With the warmest congratulations. Thank you.
The Director of the Department of Education, Languages, Intercultures, Literatures, Psychology, Vanna Boffo, on behalf also of the President of the School of Psychology, Caterina Primi.
Good morning to everybody. Opening this short presentation, we are very grateful to our rector, Professor Alessandra Petrucci, for the possibility to celebrate this day. And at the same time, we are very grateful to the Senato Accademico for the positive assent of our proposal. One thought, again, on behalf of my part, to the people in Valencia City, where the force of the nature destroyed human life, houses, streets, everything. We are together, the Valencia University community, in this very sad period. Our Department of Education, Languages, Intercultural, Literatures and Psychology and the School of Psychology of the University of Florence are honored to propone the Laurea Honoris Causa to Professor José María Peiró, Professor Emerito of Work and Organizational Psychology at the University of Valencia. In our department and in our School of Psychology, the psychology of work and organizations is a fundamental discipline through the other disciplines and knowledges of the psychology, pedagogy, literatures, and languages. In this sense, the work and organizational area is a part of the interdisciplinary tradition of our department and school and represent a pivot for the master degree course of the study in psychology of the life cycle and the context. Every year, the 40% of students decided to enter into the curriculum where it's possible to reach the specialization of this psychological area. This is our first motivation for this Laurea Honoris Causa to Professor Peiró. The students, the training, and the educational pathways are at the top of our mission as department and school. In this moment of our time, where the thinking over and about the work, the job, the employment is so crucial for the well-being of the population, is more and more important to have in front of us researchers so involved and so engaged for the students. It is necessary to be an inspiration for the students, for graduated people, and for the doctoral people. At the same time, the teaching work and the teaching elaboration of Professor Peiró is a value for the scientific community, for the academic community, and for everyone will study the theoretical corpus of his very long research experience. The second motivation is represented by the very high international level of his research. Professor José María Peiró offers to us, and at the same time to the Florence University community, a special academic and scientific curriculum with particular and relevant position in Europe and in the world. He covered the chair as a president of the International Association of Applied Psychology, the most important and the most prestigious association in the world, founded in the 1920 with 18 divisions. His topics were going from the working stress till organizational climate and culture, with the many efforts towards the international scientific community, not only at the psychological level, but for the advancing and the innovation of the knowledges. During his very long career, Professor Peiró published more than 365 articles on the most important peer-reviewed journals, wrote more than 40 books and edited books, and over 100 chapters in books. The diffusion of his scientific ideas and models is going over 50,000 citations. As a School of Psychology and as department named in a short time FORLILPSI, today we want to recognize the high scientific value of the Professor José María Peiró, and you want to say thank you very much to him for his very long life of studies as scholars and as professor. Our community, from this day, it will be more huge, more open, and more engaged in the diffusion of the work and organizational knowledges for the future of every person and every part of the world. Thank you very much, Professor José María Peiró.
Anna Maria Di Fabio for the Laudatio.
Good morning to all dear participants. Special thanks to our magnificent rector, Professor Alessandra Petrucci. Special thanks to our director of the FORLILPSI department, Professor Vanna Boffo. Special thanks to the School of Psychology and its president, Professor Caterina Primi, for having accepted this proposal that the area of life cycle and context psychology in the person of the president of the master degree course, Professor Anna Laura Nocentini, advanced. Special thanks to her too. Collegially, we put forward efforts that after the various stages of approval of the process, up to the approval of the Ministry of University and Research, this has led today to the awarding by our magnificent rector of the honorary degree to the prestigious colleague, Professor José María Peiró. Comments on his figure. Professor José María Peiró is an exceptional talent in applied psychology at a global level, and one of the most famous and well-known work and organizational psychologists in the world at an international level, for his anticipatory vision in research, for his refined methodological skills, as well as his advanced competencies in technology transfer and in evidence-based intervention in context. As you can imagine, I am deeply honored and excited to actively participate in this award at the University of Florence, giving voice with this laudatio to all the colleagues, and in particular the colleagues of the FORLILPSI department of the University of Florence, whom I have the honor of representing here, who, with an unanimous decision, have expressed themselves from the beginning in favor of the awarding of this honoris causa degree to Professor José María Peiró. You will find in these slides as guiding images the magister, because Professor José María Peiró is a magister in the deepest fullness of the term. Professor José María Peiró is a role model for all those who have known him or see him in action, a living example of excellent intelligence, excellent competence, rigor in the method, and continuous and tireless engagement and commitment in research and intervention, in the sunlight of conscientiousness, and far from the corrosive darkness of perfectionism, with continuous care for work groups, managing others, and processes. Strongly aware of the great value of leading by example for the growth of the youngest and of the discipline of work and organizational psychology, for strengthening it, making it grow, and enhancing it continuously in the world. For those who have had the fortune of working with him or watching him at work, it's extremely easy to understand the purpose of Professor Peiró, not so much expressed in words, but acted. Being at the service of others, of people and environments in real context, and in particular of the youngest, with a great generativity that has characterized and continue to characterize his path, and we can recognize and deeply admire. Everything that Professor Peiró has built or touched has grown, expanded, generated solid construction in which the direction always was the pathways of constructing well-being for environment and people, not only hedonic, but in particular eudaimonic, because Professor Peiró is the most eudaimonic, congruent scholar in work and life, putting his extraordinary competencies at the service of others, with amazing circular processes of flourishing from theory to practice. In relation to work aspects, from his local territorial levels to regional levels, for the national level of his country to the European level, for European level to the global level. In personal life, his success as a pillar jointly with another strong pillar, his wife, oxygenating processes for the flourishing of their marvelous family. In both these domains, the affection and admiration of so many colleagues and friends from local to global levels in the world. From the first phase of his career and flourishing, at the beginning, he took care of local psychological services in the Valencia region. We can recognize he never abandoned his interest in an applied psychology at the service of humanity. One of his first achievements, the 2 volumes of Psicologia de las Organizaciones, one of the best handbooks in the field. An important contribution of Professor Peiró in the field of work organizational psychology in the first part of his career, the Amigo model, the foundation of which is the concept of mission that is central to any organization and gives meaning to its existence. Another essential contribution later, the perspective of the happy, productive worker, examining the fundamental serious issues of work as a contributive factor to personal development and the transformation of the social world. Awareness. Many people's lives and future are greatly influenced by their social standing, as well as their dedication to their jobs and careers. In this framework, easy to comprehend why he has recently focused on topics like the digitization of work and digitalized competencies, which has been accelerated by the recent pandemic in various organizational areas, combining productive action with prevention. Furthermore, one of his important achievements was the design and coordination of an Erasmus Mundus master program with international collaboration and European funding. Many of the students from all over the world held important positions in international companies. Professor Peiró is a magister in work organization psychology because his expertise stems from key areas: his intellectual perspective, his rigor in both advanced research and technology transfer, his approach to teaching generatively, his ability to put ideas into practice. In relation to his collaboration with University of Florence, Professor Peiró is a great mentor. He was also my precious mentor in work and organizational psychology. Professor Peiró guided and enriched all the processes of internalization of the research results of the two international laboratories in charge to me at the University of Florence: work and organizational psychology for vocational guidance, career counseling, career development, talents and healthy organization, and cross-cultural positive psychology, prevention and sustainability. Concretely supporting me even when, in addition to Europe, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, my desire was also focused on collaboration with the Asian world. In 2014, I remember very well, in addition to the relationship present in China, in Beijing, the link that Professor Peiró facilitated with the Chinese University of Hong Kong was invaluable. Thus, the period began of a profoundly cross-cultural approach that Professor Peiró has always supported and facilitated in relation to this main topic of these two international laboratories at the University of Florence: healthy organization, sustainable development, and prevention. Regarding health organization, with the precious active participation of Professor Peiró, many events were held at the University of Florence, and the two laboratories have emerged as an international point of reference for almost 50 years, considering publication joint preparation activity. We can see the first international cross-cultural conference, Healthier Society Fostering Healthy Organization, a cross-cultural perspective in 1916, with the core group Fanny Cheng, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, Maureen Kenny, Boston College, José María Peiró, University of Valencia, Donald Saklowski, University of Western Ontario, Canada, Akira Tsuda, University of Kurume, in Japan, Fons van de Wever, Tilburg University, the Netherlands. They were also prestigious keynote speaker. Another international cross-cultural conference in 1918. The third one planned in 2020, unfortunately cancelled due to COVID. Then there's one planned for 2025. Other international activities supervised and supported by Professor Peiró in relation to health organization at the University of Florence, for example, the small group meeting, fostering health organization, a cross-cultural perspective, as a EOP small group meeting, European Association of Work Organizational Psychology, and the first international summer school health organization from research to application. Always in the perspective of a health organization, Professor Peiró has always enhanced the challenge of promoting decent work, research and intervention issues in the world. Also by supporting me as responsible for the special international IAAP project promoting decent work for all. Since 2018 and reappointed in 2022 and currently in charge at the University of Florence, the International Association of Applied Psychology as the oldest and most prestigious association in the world, founded in 1920, many colleagues has already recorded, starting from our magnificent rector. Thank you very much for that. Among the most recent activity, the Sapio conference in Chicago, where José María Peiró was the discussant, and in the perspective of healthy organization, the psychology selection assessment issues to concretely advance the reflection, supporting good practices anchored to the result of empirical research. We have in this day the second edition of the Today International Conference, which intend to become a stable annual international event. Sorry, okay. You can see the event. And the psychology of sustainability and sustainable development, Professor Peiró always supported it, and the psychology of sustainability and sustainable development officially is born in 2016 in the journal Sustainability Science, Springer publisher, in charge at the University of Florence, is still active. And working jointly for some years with Professor Peiró, we achieved an advancement for the leadership construct on the international level, publishing the new constructed scale, Human Capital Sustainability Leadership. We have already the Malaysian version, the Japanese version, the Argentinian version is in progress, the Indian version, and the other version in Europe. The foreword of Professor Peiró, magnificent foreword for cross-cultural perspective of well-being and sustainability in organization. And okay. Finally, thanks to the contribution and support of Professor Peiró, the University of Florence will be a point of reference for applied psychology as the headquarters of the International Congress of Applied Psychology, ICAP, in 2026, in 2 years. ICAP takes place every 4 years. It is the World Conference of IAAP, the International Association of Applied Psychology. It's a very important event for applied psychology on a global level, and approximately 4,000 participants are expected in Florence from all over the world. Most relevant work and activity of Professor Peiró, in short, summing up, his numerous studies on work stress and burnout contributed to occupational health psychology. His handbook, Psicologia de las Organizaciones, his book, Madurez Vocacional, a research area where Professor Peiró collaborated with Professor Alicia Salvador, a distinguished psychobiologist, and also his wife and colleague. His handbook, Psicologia del Trabajo, co-authored with Fernando Prieto. Furthermore, his extensive research on youth employment and employability since the beginning until now. Professor at the University of Valencia for more than 50 years, he founded and led the Research Institute of Personal Psychology, Organizational Development, and Quality of Working Life, IDOCAL, since 2008. He established a significant employability observatory for youth in addition to the Erasmus Mundus Master Program. He is currently an extremely committed and dedicated Professor Emeritus at the University of Valencia. He is involved in Scientific Association in Spain, Professional Association of Psychology of Spain, the Spanish Society of Psychology, and his involvement in international scientific association. He greatly contributed to the European Association of Work Organizational Psychology, EAWOP, to the SIOP, the American Society for Industrial Organizational Psychology. He has contributed in an exceptional way to the development of applied psychology at an international level on a world scale as past president of the International Association of Applied Psychology. Furthermore, his exceptional contribution to the EuroPsy program implementation, which aims to unify the recognition of psychology degree among European member states. Of course, this laudatio will omit many other significant contributions in terms of publication, collaboration, invitation, lecture. In the end, we have to underline the doctorate honoris causa that he has received from the Methodist University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Miguel Hernández University of Elche, Spain, the University of Maastricht, the Netherlands, the University of Coimbra, Portugal, the University of Almería, Spain, the National University Federico Villarreal, Peru. Among the numerous awards he received, the Aristotle Award from the European Federation of Psychology Association, the Psychology of the Year, José Luis Pinillos Award. He received other awards from the International Council of Psychologists, the European Association of Work and Organizational Psychology. Very recently, the Distinguished Teaching Contribution Award from the Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology, SIOP, in the United States, making him the first foreign professor to obtain it. One final recommendation, faithfully quoting a reference colleague such as Helio Carpintero during the International Conference on Work, Organization and Psychology in honor of the career of José María Peiró, organized by the Spanish Council of the Psychology at the UNED, Universidad Nacional de Educación a Distancia, in Madrid in 2022. If I could just suggest something at the end of this word, I'm quoting Helio Carpintero. I would ask our honoree to leave future readers with an autobiography comparable to those we had today from Piaget, Peiró, Freud, Skinner, or many others who have shared their experience of master psychology of psychologists, a category to which, without question, José María Peiró belongs in his own right. Jointly with Helio Carpintero, for this reason, we dedicate this well-earned tribute to Professor José María Peiró. Thank you very much for your attention.
The rector awards the degree.
So I'm sorry, the degree is in Italian, so I will speak in Italian. Repubblica Italiana in nome della legge, nome professoressa Alessandra Petrucci, rettrice dell'Università degli Studi di Firenze, veduta all'unanime deliberazione del Consiglio di Dipartimento di Formazione Lingua Intercultura, Letteratura e Psicologia del 19 giugno 2024 del Senato accademico nella seduta del 16 luglio 2024, ratificata dal Ministero dell'Università e della Ricerca il 1 agosto 2024, conferiamo a José María Peiró, nato a Torrent, Valencia, il 5 marzo 1950, la laurea magistrale honoris causa in psicologia del ciclo di Vita e dei Contesti. Il suo eccezionale contributo per la psicologia applicata e per la psicologia del lavoro e delle organizzazioni ha mostrato rigore, ricerca avanzata e trasferimento tecnologico, presidente dell'Associazione Internazionale di Psicologia Applicata, la più prestigiosa e antica al mondo, e di altre associazioni scientifiche internazionali, ha promosso la collaborazione cross-culturale sviluppando la psicologia applicata a livello mondiale e contribuendo all'innovazione degli studi post-laurea nella disciplina. Il presente diploma è rilasciato a tutti gli effetti di legge, dato a Firenze il 5 novembre 2024.
José María Peiró presents his Lectio Doctoralis, Applied Psychology in the 21st Century, Challenges and Opportunities.
Good morning to every doctor, to every person, and dear Rector Magnificus of the University of Firenze. With your permission, I start my lecture. First and foremost, I would like to express my sorrow for the devastating floods in my region and other regions in Spain, and my solidarity and compassion with all the people who is suffering now there, and my condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones. Now, I want to express my profound gratitude to the Università degli Studi di Firenze and its rector, Professor Alessandra Petrucci, for the great honor bestowed upon me by this prestigious institution. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to the Scuola di Psicologia and its president, Professor Caterina Primi, and to the Dipartimento di Formazione, Lingue, Intercultura, Letteratura e Psicologia, with special recognition to its director, Professor Vanna. It is especially moving for me to receive the Laurea Magistrale Honoris Causa in the corso Psicologia del Ciclo di Vita e dei Contesti. Applied psychology has been a lifelong passion of mine for nearly 50 years. And thus, this recognition holds a deep symbolic significance for me. The program offers a wide range of specializations, employing rigorous methods and evidence-based intervention. Its innovative teaching methods are designed to produce highly competent professionals. Therefore, I wish to express my admiration and congratulations to its president, Anna Laura Nocentini, and to all those involved in teaching and delivery. I feel proud now to belong as part of this community. My deepest appreciation goes to Professor Anna Maria Di Fabio for her too generous and affectionate remarks in her laudatio, which I believe attributed more credit to me than I was truly deserving. I have had the privilege of collaborating with her and sharing a close friendship for nearly 25 years. Over time, our respective research teams have joined forces, benefiting from the institutional framework provided by the Agreement of Cultural and Scientific Cooperation between the University of Florence and the University of Valencia. I am proud of the collaborative work we have accomplished on topics such as healthy organizations and well-being, human capital sustainability, leadership, organizational sustainability, decent work, and more recently, the psychology of sustainability, on which she is really a champion. None of this would have been possible without her dedication and perseverance, who over the past decade has simultaneously led 2 international laboratories at the University of Florence. She has made significant contributions through her research, teaching, editorial work, and international activities, as you all know, and her exceptional talent for generating, bridging, and bonding social capital, and her dedication have laid the foundations for Florence to become, in 2026, the global hub of applied psychology when it hosts the 31st International Congress of Applied Psychology under the patronage of the IAAP. A final words before ending this introduction goes to express my deep gratitude to my wife, Professor Alicia Salvador, and to all my family who have supported me and are an essential component of my life and purpose. Applied psychology in the current world. On this significant occasion, I will first address the meaning and functions of applied psychology as a science and a profession in the early decades of the 21st century. I will then highlight two key contributions from our research programs I have been developing over the past 2 decades. One focusing on well-being and performance in the workplace, and the other addressing competencies in the digital work environment and labor market. Our world is undergoing significant transformations at both global and local levels, driven by forces such as digitalization, climate change, demographic shifts, migration, pandemics, and conflicts in increasing complex geopolitical scenarios. These changes impact many facets of human life, including education, work, community, family, leisure, and consumption. In this context, the contributions of applied psychology become particularly relevant. The field is not solely concerned with applying existing well-established theories, but also and mainly with conducting studies to find solutions to real-world problems. Applied psychology promotes applied research as well as developmental, translational, evaluation research on human subjects and groups as conscious and purpose agents behaving in real contexts. A brief historical overview. In the early 20th century, soon after the establishment of scientific psychology, several pioneers sought to apply psychological research findings to practical problems. William Stern defined applied psychology as, I quote, the science of psychological facts relevant for their practical utility. It emerged not only as the application of existing theories, but also as a field where new theories were developed to meet practical needs. Hall, Bird, and Giesler, in the introduction to the first issue of the Journal of Applied Psychology, emphasized that applied psychology seeks both to advance theoretical and empirical knowledge of mental phenomena and to explore how psychological findings can contribute to the sum total of human happiness. In his Grundzüge der Psychotechnik, Münsterberg distinguished between causal psychology, which seeks to identify the causes of psychological phenomena, and applied psychology, which aims to solve real-world problems using insights derived from causal psychology. The International Association of Psychotechnics was founded in 1920. Since its inception, it has paid special attention to psychological technology. In 1955, following a period of intense debate, the association renamed itself as the International Association of Applied Psychology, clarifying that technology and practical applications cannot be separated from psychological theory and research. The applied psychology paradigm. Over the past century, applied psychology has accumulated a wealth of achievements in both research and practice, leading some scholars to argue that it constitutes a scientific paradigm within the broader field of psychology. According to Kuhn, in his seminal work, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, a paradigm is understood as a systematic conceptual model that determines the kind of explanation, variables, and problems that a robust scientific theory must address. It establishes the basic assumptions of a disciplinary field shared by a community of scientists and practitioners who use the model to guide their research and practice. Following the work of Professor Carpintero, my mentor, my aim here is to identify key features that may serve as the common ground across various subfields of applied psychology in the 21st century. Main characteristics of applied psychology. In recent years, several features have emerged that help define the paradigm of applied psychology. I will first highlight 4 characteristics related to the nature of scientific knowledge. I will follow afterwards by 4 observations regarding the discipline's object of study. And lastly, I will discuss 2 key aspects relevant to professional practice. The importance of the context. In most experimental research, the context is controlled to better manipulate independent variables. However, in applied research, contextual thinking becomes a critical component and requires careful conceptualization. Individual and group behaviors are studied within real contexts such as schools, workplaces, families, or communities, with particular attention to cultural, social, and temporal time factors. The focus of applied psychology is on the processes of adaptation that individuals undergo in real-life environment. As Levi Le Boyer, past president of IAEP, pointed out, Applied research in psychology keeps a heuristic value because it recognizes the uniqueness, complexity, and human plasticity features of each situation. Applied psychology is both an explanatory and artificial science. In his seminal work, The Science of the Artificial, Simon distinguishes between two types of sciences. He says, unlike natural sciences, which are concerned with how things are, artificial sciences focus on how things might be. In short, they are concerned with design. While natural sciences seek explanatory knowledge, artificial sciences aim for effectiveness. Applied psychology encompasses both explanatory science, which seeks to understand reality, and technological science, which aims to change it. Emphasis on psychological technology. The conceptualization of psychology as an artificial science has led to research focused on technological advancements aiming at enhancing professional interventions. These developments enables practitioners to generate larger, more far-reaching effects while also becoming more conscious of the long-term consequences of their actions. The issue of generalizability of scientific findings. The traditional single paradigm approach based on the postulate of the uniform of nature has proven inadequate for capturing the diversity and dynamism of human behavior. As Robert Roux notes, while laboratory research advances controlled experimentation, it often imposes constraints on participants, focusing on phenomena lasting mere minutes or hours. Furthermore, the population studied are often not representative and raising questions about the generalizability of findings. Incorporating context into research of applied psychology acknowledge that the validity of our current knowledge may be limited by contextual boundary conditions, necessitating additional studies under conditions yet to be explored. Now, I will turn to the 4 features of applied psychology referring to the study object. First, person-centric approach. William Stern, in his Personology, defined the person as a living totality, individual, unique, aiming for goals, open to the surrounding of the world, and having feelings or lived-through experience. The Spanish philosopher Ortega y Gasset also emphasized the interconnectedness of person and environment, stating, "I am myself and my circumstances. If I do not save my circumstances, I will not save myself." On his turn, Vygotsky similarly noted that individuals are socio-historical beings who live within a human and social world. This approach underscores that living involves both adaptation and transformation of the surrounding world. That is why it is important to pay attention to a person-centric psychology, and Weiss and Rupp have emphasized that person-centric work psychology is a psychology of the self-working, which considers the integrity of the person in its study. We have fruitfully used this approach to study youth unemployment in a labor market with high unemployment and provided guidelines to youth and their families and policymakers. A multi- and cross-level approach. Psychology has historically grappled with the balance between individual, social, and collective dimensions of behavior. Research has often leaned towards the individual, even though many behaviors manifest people acting as members of groups and collectivities. In recent decades, multi-level and cross-level analysis has broadened research questions and enriched the resulting knowledge. This approach has proven particularly valuable in our team for research on collective occupational stress and well-being. Attention to time and temporality. Robert Roux argued that applied psychology should focus more on what happens rather than merely what it is. Over the past few decades, longitudinal studies have gained prominence, and within-person change, often captured through experience sampling and other methods, has received increased attention. Digital technologies have greatly expanded the capacity for data collection across time and analysis. The study of dynamic systems allows for the examination of multi-causality, self-organization, and differences in individual trajectories of change, which can account for sudden, chaotic changes. These developments offer a more nuanced understanding of psychological phenomena, which in turn necessitates a reconceptualization of stability in psychological research. Human beings are future-oriented. Individuals are not merely reactive, respondent subjects, but intentional agents who strive to shape their futures. Often, research focuses on identifying the antecedents of behaviors, but there is a category of antecedents that are in fact anticipated postcedents. These are phenomena that predict behavior but do not yet exist, being just anticipated or envisioned in the future. Expectations, aspirations, purposes, projects, intentions, desires, threats, fears, and opportunities all fall into these categories. They are essential to understand human behavior. A study of the OECD 2021 found that young people's mindset, especially whether they believe in their capacity to improve, was a key predictor of growth in human capital. A flexible view of intellectual capacity was consistently associated with positive outcomes in employment, personal life, health and well-being, and various social variables. Now, I will focus on the two characteristics of applied psychology, two last characteristics that refer to professional practice. Evidence-based practice. Briner and Rousseau define evidence-based practice as making decisions through the conscious, explicit, and judicious use of four sources of information: practitioner, expertise, and judgment, evidence from the local context, a critical evaluation of the best available research evidence, and the perspective of those people who might be affected by the decision. In applied psychology, scientific evidence-based interventions are often used to improve the quality of work life and organizational functioning. When these interventions are based on human-centered design, it is equally important to consider people's needs as part of the evidence. Design-driven intervention. Design-oriented research aims to solve user-centered problems through professional interventions. Although based on practical concerns raised by users, the design also considers existing psychological evidence. Moreover, the design and its implementation can generate new knowledge. Applied psychology has a long tradition, since Lewin, of intervention-oriented research closely linked to action research, in which researchers collaborate with users and stakeholders to design and implement interventions as well as general practice knowledge. The design process is often iterative, with the evaluation integrated at each stage. In this context, I would like to pay tribute to Professor Carina Nielsen, who has recently passed away. She was a highly influential work psychologist specialized in participatory organizational interventions. Her forthcoming book, Designing, Implementing, and Evaluating Sustainable Interventions in Organizations, The How-Do of Improving Worker Health and Well-Being, captures her legacy. Now, I will proceed to present the two main contributions of my research program on sustainable well-being at work. Antecedents and context of the program. During the 1990s, our research team conducted several studies on well-being at work, focusing on job satisfaction and affective responses to stress. We examined the social matrix of stress, Rolset, using a multi-level approach to analyze both eustress and distress appraisals, emotion, and cognitive strategies. Our research considered not only individuals' subjective well-being, but also collective experiences and coping strategies within work unit and organization. The economic crisis of 2007 represented a turning point for organizations and national economies. It became clear that many previously secured benefits and working conditions were no longer sustainable in many jobs, and unemployment rates rose significantly. This posed a major challenge for our team as we sought to understand how the quality of working conditions and the associated well-being could be maintained over time. The Happy Productive Worker thesis. For decades, the Happy Productive Worker thesis was considered the holy grail of management research. This thesis posits that also, all else being equal, happy workers tend to perform better than their less happy counterparts. Numerous studies have tested this hypothesis, yielding some positive, although others have found no significant correlations, and several meta-analyses report weak and even spurious association. In a critical review we published in 2014, we identified several limitations in such studies, which may partly explain the ambiguity of the results. First, these models primarily focus on hedonic constructs with little attention to eudaimonic variables. Second, they overlook the complexity of job performance. Third, so-called anomalous results were often dismissed. Finally, these studies tend to take an individual-level approach disregarding multi-level and cross-level phenomena. A broader perspective on well-being. Workplace well-being has predominantly been studied from a hedonic perspective, with the most common operationalization focus on affective and subjective well-being. Subjective well-being refers to the cognitive and emotional evaluations individuals make about their life, encompassing general satisfaction, mood, and completeness, as well as satisfaction with specific life domains, such as marriage or work. This approach has been challenged by Riff, who drew on Aristotle's view that true happiness is found in the expression of virtue and in doing what it is worth doing. Riff and Keynes, in eudaimonic or psychological well-being dimensions, included such as self-acceptance, positive relationship, autonomy, environmental mastery, purpose in life, and personal growth. The complexity of performance. Performance has been defined as a function of a person's behavior and the extent to which the behavior helps an organization to reach its goals. Research has identified several dimensions of performance, including task performance, contextual performance, adaptive performance, and innovative or creative performance. Given this multidimensional nature, it is crucial to examine how shared or divergent the views and priorities of different stakeholders within organizations are on this important goal and topic. A synergistic and antagonistic relationship between well-being and performance. Most studies have focused on the synergistic aspects of the happy productive workers, while antagonistic or win-loss relationships have often been overlooked. Some meta-analyses have challenged the generalized synergistic view and suggested that more attention should be given to antagonistic patterns such as high well-being coupled with poor performance, or low well-being with high performance. In our study, we expanded the proposition of the happy productive worker model to research 4 potential patterns between well-being and performance: happy and productive, and happy and unproductive, but also happy unproductive and unhappy productive. In 2019, we presented with a sample of 1,647 employees of 75 companies across several sectors that over 50% of respondents fell into either the happy and productive or unhappy productive clusters. This highlights the need to consider these antagonistic patterns when testing the happy productive worker thesis. A closer examination of antagonistic pattern. Our studies suggest that a deeper analysis of antagonistic patterns can provide a better understanding of the complex cross-sectional and longitudinal relationships between well-being and performance. Well-being may be associated with poor performance due to low effort, social loafing, or withdrawal behaviors aimed at making work more enjoyable and avoiding demanding tasks. However, conversely, high well-being may coincide with low performance because of recovery needs or learning new skills, both of which may lead to improved future performance. It is equally important to understand the different implications of low well-being when job performance is high. Low well-being can be, of course, dysfunctional when performance results from precarious work, exploitation, or poor working conditions without option to go elsewhere. However, low satisfaction or negative affect and moods may take on a different meaning when it stems from a strong commitment to achieving challenging and creative goals. In creative tasks, often an affective shift occurs when the creative outcome emerges. At the initiation, negative affects is the most predominant feeling, but that turns into a positive one when the creativity emerges. In this endeavor, workers usually step outside their comfort zone and temporarily sacrifice hedonic well-being in pursuit of higher purpose. A dynamic conceptualization of sustainable well-being and performance of work. In this context, sustainable well-being does not imply that individuals or teams remain permanently in the happy, productive construct. They may transition between the two antagonistic quadrants when discrepancies between well-being and performance serve for a positive function, as described earlier. To better understand these complex and dynamic relations, careful attention must be given to the different ways in which well-being and performance are measured and analyzed. A combination of research methods, including between subject longitudinal studies and between subject longitudinal studies and within subject experience sampling, is essential to disentangle these intricate relationships. Mid-term perspective, sustainable careers. The sustainability of careers has gained increasing relevance as the traditional concept of long-term employment in a single organization shifts towards more self-directed, boundaryless careers. The sustainable career model by the Bosch et al. Advocate for a comprehensive approach that simultaneously considers employee and employer contribution, as well as the role of time and contextual factors in promoting sustainability. These authors suggest that well-being in terms of health and happiness and productivity in terms of performance are key factors in defining career sustainability, as they critically support career continuity. Their views assume that the better the employer health, happiness, and performance are, the more sustainable their career will be. This assumption is consistent with the Happy Productive Worker thesis, and in one longitudinal analysis we carried on career sustainability, we found positive relationships between future-oriented eudaimonic well-being indicators and performance metrics that extend beyond traditional job role performance. These findings have identified key antecedents and mediating variables that support sustainable careers. In this context, recently, Hartung and Fabio have published a very important article, Sustainable Development, a fourth paradigm for 21st century career, that will inspire, for sure, future research and will open new innovative research avenues also to our team. In the last section of this lecture, I will focus on some results from my recent research on the transformation of competencies in the digital society. Digitalization, a key component of the fourth industrial revolution. Over the past decades, progressive and at times radical technological changes have profoundly transformed societies with a growing impact on the economy, labor markets, and the nature of work itself. Information and communication technologies have reshaped many aspects of society, affecting business, labor markets, and work systems. In this context, our interdisciplinary research team of the Valencia Research Institute of Economics was awarded a grant in 2017 by the Spanish Socio-Economical Council to investigate the effects of digitalization on the economy, labor market, and organizations. The study examined both the destruction and creation of jobs in the Spanish labor market and the transformation of jobs due to substantial tax changes. Digitalization is not merely changing how the work is done, but also altering employment relationships and giving rise to new forms of work without employment, such as those seen often in the platform work and gig economy. The COVID-19 pandemic and the 2020 lockdown further accelerated this transformation, underscoring the urgent needs for continued research to better understand and manage their effects. Disruptive changes in work and skills, implication for digital and digitized competencies. The transformation of working conditions, tasks, and employment relations due to digitalization has significant implications for the skills and competencies required in the workplace. Digital skills are increasingly in demand, and digital environments are also reshaping non-digital skills, effectively transforming them into what we have called digitized ones. For example, teaching in a traditional face-to-face classroom setting requires a particular set of skills. However, when instruction is delivered virtually, the same skills must be adapted to suit the digital environment. This shift not only demands new skills to manage digital platforms, also transforms previously required teaching competencies into digitized ones, like motivating students and helping them to continue and follow the class. Thus, digital transformation is not limited to the need for digital skills, but also requires the integration of those skills into a new digitized competency profile. Telework and digitized supervision. During the pandemic, particularly during lockdowns, telework became widespread, often relying heavily on digital tools and arrangements. In the post-pandemic era, there is a growing interest in hybrid work models across various sectors. This new reality requires the development of digital competences in leadership, as well as the adaptation of existing management skills to suit remote hybrid supervisory context. In our institute, IDOCAL, we are conducting a project called DigiLead, led by Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Tordera, which aims to train supervisors in the digitized leadership skills necessary to effectively manage remote or hybrid teams with a focus on enhancing employee well-being and performance. Our online training program develops 5 core competencies: mediated communication, remote performance management, fostering performance relationship in distributed teams, building trust in virtual interactions, and supporting work-life balance. Evaluation of 88 leaders who have completed our program indicate high levels of satisfaction, particularly regarding the relevance and practical application of the training. Training and education in digital and digitized competencies. The European Union has placed considerable emphasis on digital competency frameworks. However, simply training workers in digital competences without addressing the transformation of non-digital skills may render the use of digital tools ineffective in practice. More attention needs to be paid to how digitalization transforms other essential job skills. Our recent research highlights the need for holistic training that integrates both digital and digitalized skills to prepare individuals for new or transformed job roles. Moreover, the European Skill Index captures this rationale very well when it includes 3 key elements: skills education, but also opportunities for skill activation and the alignment of skills with actual labor market. Technological choices in the implementation of digital technologies in companies. The design and implementation of technology plays a crucial role in shaping employee performance and satisfaction, with clear implications for productivity. It is therefore essential to consider human-centric implementation in policies aimed at increasing digital human capital in the European Union. Nearly a century ago, the Tavistock Institute of the UK found that technological determinism, implementing technology without considering human factors, could harm productivity and worker engagement. Our most recent research echoes these findings, showing that while a deterministic approach to digitalization might yield short-term efficiency gains, it often leads to negative counterproductive outcomes in the medium term. Training workers in digital and digitalized skills is not enough. Designing jobs that empower employees and preserve their control over their work is also necessary. When control is ceded to technology and algorithms fully, workers might experience greater stress, particularly if they are well-trained but have limited decision-making power. In the long run, if this prevails, this can devaluate human capital, particularly if education efforts do not result in meaningful autonomy at work. Coming to an end, policy implications. Policies aimed at fostering a digital society, especially those accelerated by the Next Generation EU program, must go beyond merely training workers in digital and digitalized skills. They must address the design, implementation, and management of digitalization in ways that keep human beings at the center, ensuring that algorithms do not fully replace human decision-making and are implemented in an ethical manner. The way technology is integrated into the workplace affects both the value and users of worker skills, as well as their overall well-being and health. Digitalization that focuses solely on efficiency without creating, enriching, stimulating, and creative job environments risk having negative effects on education, personal development, and societal well-being. Many psychological risks emerging now linked to digitalization stems from poor work design concerns. Concluding comments. Through the presentation of our research on sustainable well-being and competence performance, I aim to highlight two key paths guiding the work of applied psychology: the support of people well-being and health, and the promotion of competencies that enable them to live with dignity and contribute to a better world. A competent, responsible life is closely tied to well-being, particularly in its eudaimonic dimension, a life of purpose and self-fulfillment. Hedonic well-being is also correlated with performance, but in a current work, good performance requires stepping outside of one's comfort zone, which may involve sacrificing some aspects of hedonic pleasure in pursuit of deeper eudaimonic goals. In our view, it is essential to adopt a comprehensive vision of individuals, considering both the real-world context they navigate and the aspiration of futures they seek to create. I hope that some of these reflections prove valuable across different areas of applied psychology. As the curriculum of the Laurea Magistrale in Psicologia del Ciclo di Vita e di Contesti demonstrates, applied psychology contributes to numerous facets of human life. In all these spheres, individuals seek well-being and healthy, competent life. It is the mission of research and education in applied psychology to support this endeavor and to support aspirations through both professional practice and evidence-based intervention. Thank you very much for your attention.
the Rector for the final greetings.
Thank you to come here to attend this event. Congratulations to our new doctor, and welcome to our community, the community of the University of Florence. Thank you.